So today I'm going to be taking a look at the Morphagene and showing you how I use it as a glitchy live looping beat repeater on my mixdown when I'm doing a live performance. Obviously the Morphagene is capable of a lot of different things, but I think a lot of people don't really know that you can use it to mangle audio live by looping little sections of it. So I'm going to go into that. But the first thing we're going to do is pull out the SD card here so we can take a look at the different text options. There are certain things that you need to kind of change in order to even use this as a live looper in the first place. So I'm just going to pull that now. Okay, let me just pull up my desktop here. So you can see I've got a few different reels here. I will go into why I've set these up and how they work once we adjust these text options here. Just let me make this nice and big, or not. Anyways, hopefully you can read this. There's a lot of options on here, but there's only a few of them that we really need to be concerned with for using this as a live looper. The first thing that we're going to want to change is under this input option here. So by default this is set to 0, which means that anytime you hit record on the Morphagene, it's going to record the input and the recording, like the tape reel, based on the SOS mix. So you're going to get, you know, a different balance between your input audio and what you've already recorded to the reel based on where the SOS is set, which is really great for like doing overdubs and stuff, but it's not very useful if you want to do live looping. So what we're going to do is we change this to option 1, which means that when you hit record on the Morphagene, regardless of where the SOS knob is set, it's going to be listening to the inputs only. So you can have this set all the way to the right and you're not going to be hearing the inputs, but it's going to be recording the left and right input at whatever gain level you have it set at. And this allows you to essentially live loop. So we're going to set that to 1. The next thing I do here is this clock control options. So if you clock the Morphagene, it allows you to do either time stretching or gene shift. So by default, the first, like, I don't know, third or so of the morph knob changes the behavior for how it does like gene shifting. So it will, if you have a longer sample, it will shift through that sample at the gene size based on your clock rate. I don't find that very useful when you're working with like really short live loops. It's way more interesting to have full access to the time stretching. You get more interesting artifacts and stuff like that. I always change this to 2 as well, so that way the full range of the morph knob is controlling time stretching only, since we don't need to be doing the gene shift. The next thing I change is this CV output. So by default it's an envelope follower. I change it so that it's sending out a ramp, and I use that sometimes to control like the distortion parameters on my Versio. You don't need to do that for here. It's something that I normally do. Alright, so let's go back to the Morphagene here. I will reinsert the SD card. So when you reinsert the SD card here, if you hold shift, it's now loading and it will pull in your new options. I didn't actually change anything, so it's not really going to make any difference. Before I show you how to kind of set this up, I wanted to go through what's actually happening here and kind of explain what you heard in the intro. To do that, the first thing I'm going to do is just switch this SOS knob back and hit play. Oh, here. Let's have some CV modulation going on. I also have some CV modulation going on the Versio, so I'm just going to turn that off too, so you can just hear kind of what the pure sound is that you heard in the intro without all the glitchiness and stuff. So here we go. There's no beat repeats, there's no weird artifacts going on or anything like that. So what's happening here is now if I turn this up and we hit play, let me uncomplicate this a little bit. There we go. You can hear that basically every quarter bar we're getting silence for a quarter of a bar. And so the reason that's happening is that this SOS knob can act as a VCA. Right now I have the tempi sending a gate out of channel 1 into a multi, which is going into the SOS knob. So every time the gate's high, it's basically putting the knob all the way to the right here. And this is kind of how I like to trigger these, but obviously if you're just doing it every quarter of a bar, it gets repetitive. So I have channel 6 here cycling all of the channels randomly, so it's changing the rate. So now if we hit different lengths of silence. And the reason it's silent is because right now there's nothing filled in this buffer, because when I pulled the SD card here, it was still recording. So the first step here is, one, we want to clock the morphagene, so that way it's in time. So I have just a 1 channel of tempi going here and setting the clock. So what we want to do here is set the buffer size. In order to do that, we're going to create a new reel. So when you first record into a reel, the splice length, or I guess the maximum splice length, is determined by the length of whatever it is you record on that initial recording. So we want this to be super precise and in time with our track. So in this case, I want to use a quarter bar. I've experimented with different lengths, bars, 16th notes, 8th notes, and I find that quarter bars are the most versatile for providing, a wider range of beat repeat lengths and interesting glitchy stuff. If we hit splice and record, so if you go all the way to the end, it's now going to flash between pink and yellow, or sorry, pink and white. So if you hit or hold splice, hit record again, we now have a new reel here. And if I switch over to this, let's see here. Oh. So you can hear we have silence now in that reel. It's a little awkward because my mic is running out of Ableton and into the Eurorack, just because it makes it easier to record through OBS. So if I change over, then now you don't hear me. So I'm just going to kind of explain and then kind of show you what it's doing. So I'm just going to plug this back in for the moment. There we go. So if we want to set the buffer size, the easiest way to do that and make sure that it's the exact length we want and at the right tempo is to send the record input here a gate. So on gate high, it will start recording, and then when you send in a second gate, it will stop recording. So right now, tempi is sending out a quarter note pulse out of channel 1, which you can hear because it's cutting over the SOS knob. So what I'm going to do is basically hit play. It takes tempi 2 bars to kind of write itself. It's kind of annoying. Or not 2 bars, but 2 clock pulses. So I'm going to let it play. And then once I plug this into the record input, it's going to start recording and then stop recording. And that initial recording is going to set our buffer length, which is going to be a quarter bar. So let's do that now. And so now you can hear what's happening is it's now filling that buffer over and over again, but to this clock pulse. So I'm just going to unplug this for now. Let's hit stop recording. So you can hear now this is our live signal. And if I go over, you should get silence. Plug this now, plug this now. Or sorry, not silence. The previously recorded splice for now. This for now. This for now. This for now. Plug 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 this for now. So now what we want to do is hit record, and as we're playing, it's going to basically overwrite that quarter note buffer. So my voice might be kind of delayed at certain points as we kind of switch back and forth here, but just bear with me. For now. Get the live signal, and now every quarter bar we're getting basically a buffer of audio. And if we can handle it. So now what you're hearing is the signal by a quarter bar. So if I switch this back to the mix or to the real time, it's basically seamless. And that happens as long as you have morph set to this middle yellow part here. So between the two beds, morph plays it back exactly. And the gene size is set to the longest, which is a quarter bar. So now it's just constantly overwriting. So if we switch back, you're just hearing the input delayed by a quarter bar. And we can start to have some fun with this. So, as I started editing this, I realized during at least the last couple minutes of that video, my sidechain was like kicking in, and it makes it really hard to hear what I'm saying while this is playing. So basically, what I was saying in that last minute there is, well, you can kind of hear it here. There's a delay now, so if mix is set all the way to the left, you're getting the live signal. And as I move this over, you're now getting a signal that's delayed by a quarter bar because it's just constantly writing into this buffer. So if you actually set the mix here, you're now going to get a mix of the live signal and this quarter-inch delayed, or not quarter-inch, sorry, quarter note delayed signal. So that allows us to mangle that live, so we can do some pretty interesting stuff there. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to plug this clock back in so we get live time stretching. So you can hear that this is still just delayed a quarter. But now we can start messing with the size. So we can do this to our recorded buffer and get all sorts of glitchy sounds. So we can bring the gene size up and down. We can adjust the morph, which in this case is doing different time stretching stuff. So if I put this back over. We can combine. If we set this back, now we're just getting the delayed signal. And so playback is mostly normal. Then as I bring up the gene size, it shortens the length, and so it's going to play back those genes within that quarter note buffer there, and we're going to get different repeat lengths. If you make the gene size really small, you get all sorts of little melodic, glitchy, artifacty sounds that can be pretty interesting. And obviously you can mess with pitch and create even more insane sounding stuff. Generally, I mean, if you're doing this on like a stereo mix, you probably don't want it to just sorry, you probably don't want it to always be live looping and glitching. So that's why I use the tempi, so that way I can send this gates and add glitches whenever I want to. So in this case, like if I plug this back in and set this all the way up, every time it receives a gate, it's going to go over to our buffer, and whatever settings you've got your morph and gene set to here, it's going to either add some kind of weird artifact or do a clocked beat repeat. Yeah. Obviously, there's nothing subtle about these effects, and then I kind of add to it by messing with some distortion here. So the Versio, I have a bunch of different gates going and triggering different parameters. 2 envelopes are triggering different parameters, and that tends to work like really well with these kind of glitchy artifacts. All of the glitches have like this extra kind of high-end grit to it. And then I've got just a couple different tempi states here. So, on 2 of the states I've got this muted, so I can kind of go back and forth between whether or not I'm doing like a glitchy couple of bars or just like a straight couple of bars. But you could use any sequencer to kind of trigger this. And that's pretty much it. I kind of just started using Morphagene in this way, so I haven't had much time yet to use it in a sound design context, like on individual tracks, but I think it has a lot of potential there too. I do a lot of glitchy percussion stuff using the Electron Syntact, and resampling that through this would be pretty insane. So yeah, hopefully this was helpful. I know there's not like a lot of videos on live looping with this. So anyways, catch you later.